Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a minute since my last video, but I am here bringing you this brow tutorial that I have been practicing so hard on. If you have been on my channel for a while, you know that brows have been the biggest struggle for me. I don't have a lot of brow hair, as you can see, so I never really felt comfortable doing a brow tutorial because I feel like mine doesn't look as natural as some girls do because they have more brow hair. But fear not, beauties, I have found a way to make our brows look a little more natural, a little more faked with hair, to help us fit in with all of those who have just perfect brows. So anyways, I have been practicing this brow technique for quite some time now. I did a brow training. If you guys do not know, I do work for Anastasia Beverly Hills currently, and we just did brow training, and I was able to kind of learn how to do my brows a little bit differently and make them look a lot more natural, a lot more softer. I know that if you've been on my channel before, you've kind of seen that my brows look very blocky, very bold, very out there. Honestly, I would say that I did love my brows. I love the way they looked, but I wanted something different. I wanted something a little softer, a little more natural. I can always go back to those brows if I want a more bold look, but I like being able to do just a soft, quick brow. Because I just feel like it's just much more aesthetically pleasing, you know? So anyways, without me continuing to ramble, let's go ahead and jump into the video so that I can show you guys how to get this nice brow. Yes, I know I look crazy because I only have one brow done and it's freaking me out, so I cannot wait to get this other brow done because holy crap. So what I like to do when I start off the brows, so typically I always say mapping out your brow is going to help you get the best guidelines. So I typically always just make sure that I'm following the golden ratio of the brow. So I always say to start off where you want your brow to start. Let me use a smaller tool. So where you want your brow to start is going to be right on the side of your nose, just straight up is where it's going to start. Where you want it to end is going to be right on the edge of the nose. Across the eye, right there, is where it's going to end. And then where it's going to arch, you want to keep your face looking forward, and over the iris of the eye is where it's going to arch. That is where Anastasia has claimed that you'll achieve the best brow. If you follow the golden ratio, then you will achieve your best brow and most symmetrical brow. So the whole sisters, twins logic thing does not apply here because we want to make sure that we have two very identical brows. Now, my face does sit differently on each side, so sometimes one brow looks a little higher, but I definitely try my best to make sure that the brows are both sitting the same way. So just to start off the brow, I'm going to go ahead and take this Highbrow by Benefit. It's just a highlighting thing. I use this to give me a kind of like barrier right underneath the brow to kind of help me level my strokes out more symmetrically so that I am not putting them all the way down here or all the way up there. I already know that my brow is going to start there, so I'm basically going to start there with the Highbrow. Now, if you don't have a pencil like this, I know that like the base one pro pencil from Anastasia works well. If you don't have anything like that, just like a white pencil that's easy to blend out, or even just using your concealer and just making a sharp line right there to kind of give you that map for the brow is going to work just fine. So starting off with the Highbrow, I'm going to go ahead and just take it and I like to kind of stay very sharp into my brow line because I don't want too thick of a brow. So there we go. So we have just that little line that's going to go ahead and help us create the strokes. Now, normally I start off with my Brow Duo, but I've been loving just using the Pomade as a starter and then kind of helping fill in with the powder. But you can definitely do what you like best. I'm extra, so I use both products. So what I'm doing is starting off with the dark brown pomade. My brow hairs are darker, but I like to kind of use something a little bit lighter so I don't have a full dark brow, and then I like to detail with something darker to kind of accentuate my brow hairs. So I'm just going off with a sample of dark brown, so don't judge me. I'm just taking a little bit. The tool of the hour that's going to help you complete this brow is the Anastasia 7B brow. You can see it's very sharp, very angled, very thin. So it's going to help you achieve more straight line or skinny lines, like more precise lines. So I always just start off by thinning out the product in the lid. You can kind of see I've just literally taken my brush and just wiped it until I can get it to its thinnest amount. Then I go ahead and just take a tissue and I'll wipe off lightly the excess, so then we have a very sharp and clean brush which still has product on it. So just brushing my hairs up, you can see I'm trying not to cover this. So I'm just brushing the hairs up to kind of get this like shape, or to get them all going the way I'm going to do the strokes. So I'm just brushing them up in the direction that they typically grow, and then I'm just going to lightly start in with the strokes. Now you notice that your brow hairs all kind of like move to the outer side of your face. So that's kind of where, or how you want to do the strokes, is just kind of going off to the side a little. So you can see I just started off with a couple strokes there, nothing crazy. I'm just really lightly pressing in and then just giving me some natural strokes. And like I said, I'm just angling my brush to the side and giving myself those strokes. Now, when I get to this next area right here where I have the most sparseness, I'm not going to keep doing the hairs how I do them in the front, because that's not naturally how they grow. They typically grow just little sparse hairs. So I'm going to draw them that way because I want to make it look like I have hair there, so I have to kind of mimic how they would naturally grow. Now I am dipping back in the product because it's so thin. I don't have to wipe off my brush because I've already made my brush pretty sharp. So I'm just lightly dipping into that pomade, and again, not dipping into the actual pot of the product, just in the lid. And you can see that the strokes are a little harsh, so I just lightly, very, very lightly take my spoolie over them and kind of just brush them and blend them out just a tiny bit. Now, if you have this area just like I do, I don't want you to freak out and just keep adding strokes there. Just add a couple to make it look a little more natural. We'll fill in if we need to. Excuse me. We will fill in if we need to later, but just kind of keep moving. That's the key to this brow, is knowing when to move on. Because I feel like once you clean up the brow, that's when you're going to see where the areas you need a little bit more help at, and then that's going to help you create a better brow. So I'm just taking those strokes down. Now my brush is kind of getting a little more soft, so I'm just going to go ahead and dip back into that product, take the tissue and clean off the brush again to make it a little more sharp. And then just lightly going back into the product. And you can see those strokes look a little dark, so we're just going to take our spoolie and lightly blend those out. And you can kind of see I'm just kind of moving my brush up and down in the areas of where my hair would grow, and just adding those like small little strokes to kind of give a more natural look. Mommy. Then towards the front I do like a little bit more strokes. So I'm just going to lightly add some more in there. I know where my brow is supposed to end, but typically I like to add just a little bit more over so that when I clean up it looks a little more fluffy, I guess you could say. So I feel like I've added quite a bit of strokes to the bottom, so I need to step away and now do the top. So I just take my spoolie and I kind of brush those hairs down as they naturally lay, and I'm just going to go ahead and start the process up on the top. So I start at the arch and the tail just because I like to build off of that. So I'm just taking my angled brush, and again I'm just angling the brush with the shorter spot down, and then I'm just adding those little strokes in. So you can kind of see that I'm just adding those as if there was hair growing there. You see? And then just dipping. And I literally just kind of play it by sight. Like if I see that the strokes start getting too light, then I'll dip back in the product. But like if I don't see anything coming off the strokes, then I'll dip back in the product. But typically I like for the top of the brow to be a little more subtle. Actually, no, I don't. I like it to be a little more structured. But as far as the strokes go, I don't add so many up there. And then right there, like at the top of that brow, it's kind of hard because the strokes don't really go right there. Like they don't fill it if you do it up, and they don't fill it if you do it slanted. So I kind of just add just a tiny little bit of like curved strokes to give me that curve that the brow naturally has. And then I just kind of go in the tail and just add some random strokes everywhere. And then just lightly brush those out. Okay, so I feel like I've added a good amount of strokes with the pomade, so I'm going to go ahead and step away from the pomade and just leave that over there. Next, I'm going to go in with the Brow Duo powders. I do have a brow book because I work for Anastasia. You can get it online, I believe. I think. Don't quote me. I have no idea. But I am using the Ebony Brow Duo because I do like darker hairs, as I said. So I'm just going to sharpen my brush again, and then I'm just going to dip into that Ebony powder, and then I'm just going to add a couple strokes around the brow to give a little more dimension. And I'm barely tapping in to that Brow Duo. Like I'm not doing a heavy hand at all, and I'm not doing heavy hand on the strokes of my brow either. So we've already added to the bottom, now just to the top. Now, because I feel like when I take like pictures and stuff, if I leave the brow like this, it kind of just looks a little crazy. Like it looks like I don't have anything there because the light's not picking it up. So I like to lightly fill just that area just with a tiny soft line. So I'm just going to take the dark brown powder, and I'm going to take the lightest color in the front. I'm going to take that lightest color, and I'm just lightly dipping into that. And I'm just going to very, very soft-handedly create a soft line at the top. And just taking that and blending it in. So then I'm just going to lightly with my spoolie brush that in. Okay, so now I feel like we have enough strokes and enough structure. So this brow obviously looks different because it is more cleaned up. So this brow, now that it's going to get cleaned up, is going to match the other one. So I'm just going to take my trusty angled brush that I always typically take. This thing looks like crap, but I swear it works the most amazingly. So I'm just going to take my concealer, and I'm just taking the Too Faced Born This Way concealer, and I'm just lightly... I got carried away. But I'm putting some concealer on the back of my hand and just making sure I get like a nice light amount. So next I'm just going to make sure I'm following the same shape of the brow on the other side and just starting to clean that up. There goes my dryer. Now I like to blend out my concealer with my finger. That's just me. I feel like I'm able to do that without ruining the line that I have. So if you trust yourself, do it that way. If not, use another clean brush to kind of help blend it out. But for me, I feel like it's just easy to do it that way. So now you can see like we're just getting nice clean lines. And I'm just going to clean up right here. Now, because I don't like the front ends to be too harsh, I kind of lightly round out the bottoms of the brows so that they're not so like harsh towards the front. So next I'm going to take my brush and just clean up the top to give it a more sharp shape. Because I was so light-handed at the top, it's not going to make the brows look very like bold. It's just going to give them that nice clean look. And I can already kind of see that I need to add just a tiny bit of shadow just right there. Just to give the illusion that I have like that like nice product right there. Or that nice shape right there. You know what I mean? And you can kind of add in some more strokes just to kind of mimic the other brows. So I'm just adding the little sparse hairs in between the brows to kind of give it more of that natural brow. Okay. So now we have matching brows on that end. And then I kind of just take this time to blend out any any bold hairs that are like too dark. I always just make sure to kind of blend those out. And then add in any strokes where I feel like the brow needs it. Now, typically this brow does not take me this long because I don't talk through it. So I would say it's like a fairly quick brow. I don't think it takes me very long when I'm not having to teach it. So I'm just gonna take off a little bit of the tail of that brow because it doesn't need to come down that far, and then that way they both match. So taking this, making sure those both match. Now my brows aren't going to be exactly, I mean they look the same, but they're not going to sit the same because my face doesn't sit up at the same point, or up at the, my face isn't symmetrical. Like I know that part of my face is lower, so it's not going to be as perfect as I want it, but it's going to be damn near, okay? So now that we've finished with all the strokes in the brow, you can kind of see like that it looks nice and natural. If you want more of like a makeup brow, all I would suggest is adding a little bit more shadow strokes to the tail end of the brow and just really kind of carving that out, and that's going to give you the more like ombre, bolder brow without making the front look so harsh, if that makes sense. And if you guys want me to teach you that, then I can teach you that too. But this is the brow that I've been doing very frequently. I get so many compliments on these brows, and I absolutely love this brow, and I think it just looks so nice, and it makes me feel like I have brow hair when I don't. So it makes it really, really nice. But yeah, so to finish off the brow, now that we've finished all the strokes and we made sure everything looks nice and blended, I'm just going to take the Anastasia Clear Brow Gel, and I'm going to go ahead and run that through. And I do kind of just push the brow hairs up to kind of give the strokes that I've done a little more power. Alrighty, so that has made the brows nice and detailed, and if you do want a little bit more of a darker look, I would suggest going with a darker tinted brow gel. Typically, if I'm going to add a tinted brow gel, I will do espresso because you want to accentuate the hairs, not the skin. So I would suggest that, or even our new Dipbrow gel or pomade gel. That works amazing because it actually clings the product to your brow hairs versus how the pomade just sticks to the skin. So it's going to give you like a good color to your actual brow hairs, which is going to make the brows look a lot more natural and stuff. So yeah, that is the final look of the brows. I'm just going to add something on my lips because they are so naked and bare. It looks disgusting. Here is a close-up of the brows. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that you guys recreate these brows. If you guys have any questions, you feel free to ask me on Instagram or on in my comment section. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you guys have about brows or about your brows. If you are in the Utah area, I would be more than happy to meet up with you guys while I'm working and help you achieve this brow on yourself. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'm so sorry it takes me so long to get a video out. But yeah, let me know what you guys want to see next, and I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!